Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Table Talk podcast. I'm Addison, and today I'm here with
Jaden Warren.
Jay. Do you care to tell us a little bit just about yourself and insight on your life?
I'm 16. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I go to Southside.
So Jay and I met, roughly 5, 6 years ago,
I think it was 5.
5 or so. It was back before COVID. But one of the common grounds that we have together is baseball. So Jay, do you care to tell me just a little bit more about like what got you started in baseball and what you kind of remember about all that?
Um, when I lived in Kansas, I was about probably 5 years old. This dude that went to my church, I think his name is Terry McAllister. I could be wrong about the last name, but I think it's what it is. He asked me if I played a sport, and I didn't at the time, and he said I should try out baseball. So I did. So I played for him on his little travel ball team about 2 years, and that's how it got started.
Was there ever like a point when you were younger that it kind of clicked with you that, oh, this is what I'm gonna do until you can't?
Yeah, after I moved back from Kansas, I took a season off, and then after that, I just really wanted to back into it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, you know that baseball is something that I truly have a passion for, and I love seeing growth within different teams, yours, Rogers, everywhere. Um, but how did you particularly see growth with your Southside team this year?
Um, I'm gonna tell you about on C team 'cause that's what I was on this year. But C team, everyone on C team I'd already played with, and before high school, we had all knew the system, like the system we played.
Mm,
So we got on Southside, we got a new coach, got a new system we had to learn. I feel like we learned the system, but um, we enjoyed the system. If that makes sense.
yeah. Um, I'd watched. I'm thinking of like you, Spencer, Eli, Jordan, um, Gunner. There were a few others. I'm thinking like I remember going and watching y'all play like at the little league fields
Yeah.
for several years, and I remember the game where you had the little Hawaiian tutu on, playing your little catcher position at that game. But seeing y'all all work together as a team again this year rather than playing against each other has been something that I've really enjoyed watching. And I know that you kind of bounced around a lot this year as to what position you played. So how did you handle that, having to have a different role at like even in different innings throughout a game?
Well, that's funny. That's what me and my dad were talking about pretty much every day. Um, I have a different outlook on it than my dad. My dad thinks that if I play, if I can play anywhere, then I'm gonna get playing time, which is a good thing if you're not wanting to start. I want to start. I can start, but since I can play all those positions, take Eli. Eli can play second and pitcher. Um, if Eli gets hurt, then that's two positions gone. That's two positions that someone can't. That's we got to fill. If I get hurt, and when I'm starting, if I get hurt, that's nine that someone has to fill.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, it depends on what perspective you look at it on. I don't personally enjoy playing all. Maybe I like playing infield. Maybe not all, but you know, that's just how it goes.
And I know that y'all recently had a few seniors that graduated that had a big impact on your baseball career. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that and how that has kind of shaped your outlook on how you go about the next 3 years of what high school has for you?
Um, there's three seniors that really stick out to me. Jackson Pruitt. Pruitt was a really good player for the Southside baseball program. He hit good. He fielded good. He had just a confidence about him when he walked on the field. So I want to be confident when I walk on the field. That's what I want to take away from Pruitt. Um, Will Hainsworth, he was the first senior to talk to me on Southside. And so to me, that's what I want to be as to when I'm a senior. That's what I want to be to other freshmen. I want to be that first person.
Like that role model.
Yeah, I want to be that. I want to be that friend for them. Cade, I love Cade. Oh my, Cade, he was effort. He was all effort. Every play, he was effort, and he always brought a smile to your face. He was never really mad. He always, I mean, that's what I want. I want effort from him, and I want the confidence from Pruitt, and I want the friendliness from Will.
Yeah, those are three really good values I think to have in somebody on your team. Let's talk a little bit about the mentality of baseball. I remember, and this was honestly the best I think I've ever seen you play as a player. I think was it the Harvard game?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was the Harvard. Was it the first or the second game?
It was the first game.
Yeah, no, it was at
It
there.
was
It
the
was at
second
there, so it
game.
was the
It's the
second.
second
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
I remember sitting there with, I think it was your brother, your mom, and your grandma, and I'd say was it like halfway through the game when they pulled you in to pitch,
It was a
or was that
third
the game
inning.
you whole pitched? You
It was
pitched
a
the whole
third
game.
inning.
Okay. Well, I remember you singing on the mound. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that was just so funny for me to watch. You just like singing and jamming out in the middle of doing a very serious task.
Well, kind of funny. On the bus, I just found this song by Big X called "Dream," and I was listening to it. And I was listening to it, and I was like, "This is a good song." So it got stuck in my head.
You
So
care to sing a little bit of that for us?
maybe another time. Maybe another
Okay.
day. But I got out on the mound, and my coach always says you gotta have fun. You gotta play the game, but you gotta have fun with the game. So I got out there and I had fun. That's how I know how to have fun. So um, when I was every time I pitched the ball, I would go back, I would smile, I would look at Eli, and I would start singing. So it was just fun. That was a fun game. That was probably my best game that I played.
Yeah, I mean, even though the outlook of the overall game
Okay,
wasn't the way that we wanted.
the team, we lost like 20-3. The team did not do
Yeah.
good, but I, as a player, I grew
Yeah.
a lot from that game, and I did good.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately all that matters is that you're growing within yourself. And earlier this morning we were talking about how just between different camps and stuff that I had multiple weeks off from my workout schedule and how it was a little bit of an adjustment having to be lifting X amount and then taking 2 weeks off and then going back and that number being lighter than what I anticipated it to be. So you had shared a little bit about how your mentality and your thought process was after having a break and going back to the weight room. So talk to me a little bit more about that and how that mentality of it really affects how you progress and grow more as a player.
Uh, our coach really believes in the weight room. So he had us in the weight room pretty much. Well, the first time I met him was in the weight room. So, I mean, like our relationship started but um, we was working out like 3 times a week, and I was getting so much stronger. I could see myself getting stronger. I could feel myself getting stronger, and I knew that was important for baseball in general. But um, obviously we took a break while when the season was going. So um, then like I guess it's been 3 weeks ago or four, we got back, and I was like, man, this is gonna be awful. This is gonna suck. I haven't worked out in like a good 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be horrible. But I was up my bench. I got it up. I don't know, 20-30 pounds from the beginning where I was at, and I was like, all right, well, I want to get 20-30 pounds more than that this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I got in there, and I was like, all right, you're just gonna take this light. You gotta build it back. And I got in there, and I didn't go off my max, but it was like 5 or 10 pounds less than my max, and I was
Yeah.
doing that for reps, and then I was So I really feel like I made progress in the weight room, and the weight room can pretty much destroy or help your mentality. And I mean, the weight room is how fast you throw, how
Yeah.
far you hit the ball
I mean, all the training and preparation doesn't just happen on
on
the
the field.
field. A lot of it, like you said, really does happen in the weight room and making sure that your body is at the best possible shape that it can be to execute everything safely and obviously as perfect as it could be, even though it's not going to always be perfect. What would you say is like one of the biggest struggles that you face as a player individually? Because I know that there's countless times that pitchers go in and pitch and have a lot on their mind and it's hard for them, or a batter goes in and it's just all up in their head. Like, talk to me a little bit more about that and what struggles you face and how you work your way around that.
My biggest struggle as a player is finding the common ground between being overconfident and too what's the word, too timid.
Mm-hmm.
So when I mean like if I walk on the field and I'm playing with eighth graders, last year I was in ninth grade and I'm playing with eighth graders. I'm gonna be prideful. I'm gonna be swinging the bat at pretty much anything. I'm gonna be making double plays, but
Yeah,
like that for me, like I can mess up when I'm too prideful because
yeah.
like I'm thinking
You
I'm
let everything that you know go
yeah.
in those moments.
Um, and then when I'm too timid, like I'll give you an example. Um, the first fall practice we had, I walked out there and there's eight or six. I think we had four seniors then because the other senior didn't come, but there was four seniors and I mean, they were good, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the juniors were good, the sophomores were good. I was playing with people with, I mean, two, three times better than I was, and I was like, how am I gonna, where am I gonna fit in this, all this? So I was timid. I was like, I wasn't chasing after balls. I wasn't going all that effort out. I mean, I wasn't giving it my all.
Yeah.
I was holding back a little bit. But in that middle ground where it's like, um, I mean, you have some confidence. You know you can do it, but I mean, you're not saying that you're better than everybody else. If that makes sense. You kind of keep to yourself. You do what you do. After play, you move on.
Yeah, you have to be confident, but also humble yourself at sometimes and really watch how big you let that ego grow. And earlier, you had also mentioned talking about just the overall dynamics of baseball and just kind of what that meant to you. And we haven't actually had a chance to talk about that, I don't think, in any other conversations that we've had out of the many that we have had to this day. So let's talk about that for a second.
Um, Baseball to me is pretty much the most important thing in my life. I mean, it reflects my life
Mm-hmm.
really because um, I'm so competitive that when I walk between those two lines, the diamond, it's game time. Like all my practice, all everything I've done, you know, it's right then, it's right
Yeah.
there. I give all every time I'm out there, and for me, I can carry that into life. When I step outside my house, when I step outside anywhere that, you know, I'm out, I'm doing that for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's something for me to do. So I'm going to give it my all and I'm going to do my best at it. Um, Baseball is so weird, I guess.
Yeah.
It's so different from every other sport because
I mean, like in a moment, the whole game can be
yeah,
majorly switched.
yeah, and not even I mean that, but not even like I mean a little thing can be
Throw the whole thing.
horrible. One
Yeah,
player's mentality can be off, and it can throw everyone else off.
yeah.
You can swing at a bad pitch, and everything will go off.
I mean, we see that more often than not, especially when it comes down to like semifinals and state finals. Like when it's really down to the wire, and someone goes up to bat, and they're thinking like, "Oh, we're gonna win this. Like we have nothing to worry about," and they miss that ball or swing at a terrible pitch, and they lose the trophy over
I'll give you a
what gets in their
story.
head?
I'll give you a story. It was our fourth game playing Bentonville West. They had just beat us 9-3 the last game. We go out to on their field, on their ground. It was the bottom of the seventh inning. It was 2-1. We knew what needed to be done. We needed to hold them, and we needed to stop everything.
Mhm.
Eli Weekly was pitching. Was on the mound.
Love some Eli pitches.
Bases. There was a runner on first. No outs. It was a 1-1 count. Eli threw it right down the plate. I mean, right down the plate. And this kid hit a blooper right to Landon, right to the shortstop, right to Landon. He should have caught it. He didn't catch it. But
Poor Landon.
because he didn't catch it, he threw it to me at second,
Yeah.
which I was at second. I got the kid out, forced out, and I threw him out at first. So it turned into double play. If he would have caught the ball, that runner probably would have made it because it would have been hard to catch. Just things like that. I mean, just anything can change the game.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, some of those plays, like, you can rehearse over and over and over again the ways that you want it to work, and in the moment, the things that you practice most of the time don't end up happening. It's just spur of the moment, quick thinking. But with that, a lot of those come from training at a young age. And I know that we've talked a lot about how I disagree with um, over practicing with children at the age where they would start off with t-ball, because I think that parents tend to force the sport upon the kid, and the coaches just blow things way out of proportion. um, what do you think about all that, and how do you think that you find a healthy balance for kids in elementary school, that they know that this is something that they want to keep training and practicing in, but finding the balance between the kid wanting it versus the parent wanting it?
Well, for me, like I'm just different. Like for me, I wanted to be that kid that had the opportunity to play travel ball, that had the opportunity to go all over
Yeah.
the state and play. But it was my parents that kept me from that.
Mhm.
And I feel like that helped me because I got to play by myself. Like I taught myself pretty much my whole life. And there's pros and cons to that. But I feel like sometimes in some cases the parents they they want their kid to do the things that they couldn't or they didn't.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's to me that's wrong. Um, I think if your kid wants to get better and progress at the game, then they need to do that. Because I would be so much further if I had the coaches of Mason Howe or Trevor Reed.
Yeah.
Like I would be so far advanced. Like I know I would be good or better than I am right
Yeah.
now. Like
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
I know that. Like you gotta find where your kid wants to. I mean, he's what's elementary like?
Mhm.
8 years old. Like there's
Yeah.
no need for him to be practicing 5 hours a day. Like there's no need. Like for me, like I'm in high school. Like there's no need for me to be practicing 5 hours a day.
Mhm.
College level, I mean, under your parents' care, obviously, but you need to be practicing that 5 hours because
Yeah.
that's what you want to do. But in elementary, you're still you don't even know who you are yet. I mean, like you got to find yourself first, and you got to make sure baseball is what you want. And if baseball is what you want, then you do need to be practicing that extra 2-3 hours and putting in the work.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's important to invest in good coaches and good teams, and also pushing them to want to do their best. Because I know that for me, in just by doing dance, like there are days where I'm lazy and I don't want to go practice. But I know that if I don't go and practice and give it my all, and also take the time outside of dance to go work out, that my body isn't in the best shape that it could be to execute. And I know that looking back on it, for me, like I wish that when I was younger that I had put more effort into it, just kind of like what you were saying, having those people that could train you to what you were capable of doing. So I 110% agree with that. But I've also seen your team grow so much just this season. Like I had mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, that watching y'all play in the little league 16U team, and then watching y'all play this year as freshmen, and even I went the few varsity games that I went to, just seeing how well y'all play as a team, and even when things are going horribly wrong and the score is not looking too hot, how y'all can just turn that into a positive situation. Like y'all were losing bad when you started pitching that third inning with Harbor, and you were out there singing and having a good time with it, whereas, not gonna name drop, but some other kids were not having a good time and were really upset with themselves. But just seeing the growth and how y'all have connected emotionally with each other, but also physically in the sport throughout the whole year, has been something super cool to me. And it's honestly something that is very unique, specifically for the Southside C team. Like, I don't think that I've seen a team that well prepared because of the relationships that y'all have built before y'all started playing in this first year. But outside of that, also you have to take care of yourself. So in your off season, how do you maintain healthy nutrition and keeping your body where it needs to be so that it's not complete downfall when you go back and start a school?
Um, let me touch on what you said. Let me touch on that. The coach, why we do so well at what we do, like how we bond, how we do that, is because coach said when he first got there, he said the culture of this program is not where it needs to be, and he
Mm-hmm.
said it's just bad, like it's horrible, and it was. And he really tried to fix that this year. He tried to build the chemistry and
Yeah.
culture to where it is right now. You know, he let us hang out. We went to I think it was an Arkansas game, and I mean we just hung out. You know,
Yeah.
like things like that, like outside of baseball, where you could just bond with the people that you're playing with in the game. Like, I mean that puts you on a whole nother level because you know them personally and you can rely on them more. Because if you don't rely on people, then you're trying to do it all yourself.
You're able to build that trust factor of like, oh, I know that this
Yeah,
person is actually going to go out on the field and put
you know, work their tail
100%
off.
for the team and work for that win or for a state title or conference and so on.
Yeah, and then on the field, I'll touch on the field. Um, you know, we're just trying to have a good time. You know, we're just trying to have fun. I mean, we're trying to win. Yeah, I mean that's our number one priority. But you know, when we see that's not happening, I mean, there's no need to get mad about it. I mean, yeah, we're gonna kick in a high gear and try to win, but you know, there's no point in sulking about it.
Yeah.
So, and then you asked about
Off-season nutrition.
um, for me, I haven't done that really per se because of what I've had to do. But
Hey, I mean, you've been living a pretty crazy summer. I mean, we were at camp, and then now we're here in Fort Worth shooting this actually. Um, but I know that even like in weeks prior to us being gone, that you've always just been very adamant about making sure that you're careful with what you eat and working out. Because I remember at camp, very first day, you're like, "Oh, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm gonna go do this to maintain expectations of your coach and of your team." So has that been like a hard goal per
It is.
se
It is hard.
to
It is hard. It's hard to wake
maintain.
up at. Usually I'm being for real. Usually at home I do wake up at I think it's 6:30. It might be 6, but at 6:30 or 6, and I do run a mile every morning. But that is hard. But you have to. Just get used to that. If you want to be great, you gotta wake up early. You gotta go to
Yeah.
bed. You gotta go to bed. You gotta take care of your body. You gotta eat right. You gotta eat healthy. But I think you can do that. Like you can do that, but you can't do that unless your mentality is where it needs to be. Like I can want to get up at 6 and run a mile and do 100 sit-ups and do 50 push-ups and
Yeah.
like I can want to do that, but am I going to do it?
It's just like getting out of bed in the morning. Like I know that you've heard me say multiple times this week that like I know that I have to get up, but I just want to lay in bed and not do anything. And then when that procrastination kicks in and becomes a lifestyle, you can never really get to the goals and the expectations that you have for yourself if you just have a mindset of I'll do it later, I'll do it tomorrow, but it has to start today or else
We'll never start.
you can't get to where you want to be. Now, we know that my most embarrassing moment in my life right now happened on your field. Little backstory for those that don't know. They had was it a benefit game for softball and baseball? Is that what it was?
It was a Halloween game. I don't think
It was just like a
game.
silly little game, and some of my friends they had like these little gift raffle basket things, and I guess my name was put in there the most to be called out, and I didn't even know what I was getting myself into at this point. I was like, okay, why not? And I remember it was me, this lady, and this older guy, and we had to go out on home plate, put our forehead on the end of a baseball bat, spin around 10 different times, and then go run the bases. Well, I know that I didn't touch a single base at all. Couldn't see anything. It had rained, so my clothes were soaking wet. Um, and then now when people like ask how I know so many people on the baseball team, like, oh, I'm the person that had to run those bases. And they're like, oh, that's you. Like, it's so embarrassing when people like make that connection. And someone told me that video actually floated around in y'all's group chat. Is that actually true?
I cannot give away that information.
No, did it actually go around y'all's group chat?
I can't say, but I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna assume that it did, based off of what I've heard from other sources, unfortunately. But Jay, you care to tell us a little bit about your most embarrassing moment on a field or even just in general? I know you told me that your first one and your second one can't be exposed, but let's go with your most embarrassing one on the field.
On the field, it was this season. I was being a baby. I was in left field. Player got hurt, so he put me in. I was like, all right, I want to go to left field, but I guess I will. Got out there, and the ball was hit between me and center field, which was Caleb Andrews. I called the ball, but center field has priority, so he called me off. I was like, okay. I didn't have time to move, so I slid. Caleb Andrews misses the ball. I start screaming at him because I had the ball. Yeah. And then I got up. Eli said, it's okay. Calm down. Screamed at Eli. My third baseman was telling me to calm down too.
Was that Spencer at the time?
Price.
Okay.
I was on the other side of the field screaming at my third baseman. It was bad. And then I got up to hit. Inning was over. Got up to hit. Hit the ball. Got a triple. And then someone, I don't know who it was, but someone on my team yelled, "You are not good." Like that was not a good triple. And so I cussed him out through the field. Like,
yeah.
it was bad. Like, I was just in a bad mood. I was not having it.
Yeah, one of those moments where you have to remember that it's about the team and not what like how good or how bad you're playing. I do remember. I think it was also no, it was not at the Harbor game. It was the game that I remember it was the very last inning and the very possible chance for y'all to even score. And y'all were at the very end of your lineup and you had a dude on first. Trying to think of who it was. Dobby. You had Dobby on first, and then DK went up to bat. And I remember I was sitting next to Maddox. Maddox was like, "Oh my goodness, let's hope we can get this in there," because it was like really on the line for y'all to even score at this game. And DK ended up hitting, and I remember he ended up getting to third, and then I want to say some kid came in after him, and DK ran in eventually. But it was also at that game when you had hit a double, and when you got to second, you laid down on the base and started swimming on that thing.
Rogers Heritage. That was a good game.
Was that the Heritage game?
That was a good game.
That was funny.
8-9 ball game, and still think we should have won that one, but
because I remember that was the second game that week up in Northwest Arkansas, and I remember going there and I was at the concession stand walking back, and Spencer was like, "Go get me food." So I got Spencer food. He was munching in the dugout while y'all were out there doing your thing. But do you have any words of like advice or encouragement for people that, I mean, they might be older than you or particularly younger kids like Landry that want to get into this and want to be more involved but don't know how to find that balance between wanting to play ball and have a life outside of the sport?
If you want a life outside of baseball, if it's not God, then you shouldn't be playing baseball, I think. I mean, baseball, I think, should consume your life. Outside of God, I think it should consume your life. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. You should be practicing it. You should be thinking about it. You should be watching videos about it. I mean, that's what I got to say about that. That's my opinion on it because I respect the game so much, but I don't think you should be out there and be like, oh, well, this is just my third sport I play, and this is just what I want to do right now. On a kind of personal kind of thing about baseball, you have to be smart outside of baseball. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that this year wasn't my best year of being smart. Got in trouble for I think I got suspended for 4 games. It was 2 games, and then I got back in. I shouldn't have got back in, but I did for 1 game, and then I had to sit out the rest of the other 2. But I got in a fight with another one of my teammates, which is no longer on the team, because he was stupid and he didn't do what coach had told him to do.
Right.
I mean, but you just got to be smart outside of baseball, because like I said, your life, I mean, it reflects you on the field. Like I should have never done what I did, but yeah, you just gotta.
There's always somebody watching, and even though it might not happen on the field or out of practice, sometimes those things that do happen can really get back around to people and put you at a lower spot than you know that you could be because you let that stuff get in the way. Well, thanks for sitting and chatting for our first episode today. Make sure you tune in for the next episode as we have our next special guest. We will see you guys later.